This report offers three key messages. One, human influence on the climate system is clear and clearly growing. Second, we must act quickly and decisively if we want to avoid increasingly destructive outcomes. Three, we have the means to limit climate change and build a better future. The report found that the world is largely very ill prepared for the risks of changing climate, especially the poor and most vulnerable who have contributed least to this problem.
All right, Ban Ki-moon speaking some very scary, scary words if you're to believe them. But climate change is happening, and according to Mr. Moon and the UN, it's entirely man-made. And he warns that if we don't act now, it may be too late to fix it. Lori Goldstein joining us now. I thought of you over the weekend because, of course, I read your article on Saturday, and you wrote all about America being a superpower. And then, of course, this UN climate change thing came out, and it led all the newscasts last night. And it's clear that the world is coming to an end, according to the UN.
The problem is you see the initial reports and and you get one impression. Like the takeaway was that the IPCC was saying that by 2100 we have to eliminate the use of fossil fuels. Actually, it's not what the IPCC said. And you find, because what happens is that the green suspects get it and they spin it and yada, yada, yada. The real difference in this report, and this is just an ongoing, this is the fourth assessment report that we were talking about months ago. Yep. It comes out in dribs and drabs, right? So in this one, actually, what they said was not that we have to eliminate fossil fuels by 2100, because that would be impossible, but that we have to limit their unrestricted use. And what's the major technique the report's talking about? It's technology. It's carbon and captured storage, which is in its infancy, and we haven't done it yet. So what they're not saying eliminate fossil fuels. They're saying we have to use fossil fuels in a different way. Okay. But the biggest problem is this. What the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change was created to talk about global warming as a crisis, as an existential crisis. So it's like somebody with a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. So what I would say to the IPCC is, this is great. Okay, so we've been taking this issue into the public realm, discussing it, debating, warning about imminent climate catastrophe since the late 80s, let's say 89, okay? So for 25 years, you people have been yak, 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 yak. What have you got? We're in 2014, that's a quarter century later. Are emissions going down? No, they're going up. The strategies you used, cap and trade, carbon taxes, did they work? No, they failed. You now say that this is, the new message here is it's easy to do. We don't have to lose growth. We don't have to throw people out of work. We can do it easily. Well, what's the evidence? What's the one time that emissions faltered in the last 25 years? It was 2008, right after the global recession. So everything they say is not borne by the real world. That's the problem with the IPCC.
Yeah, but we know that the debate isn't settled about climate change. We certainly know that global warming has been debunked. I mean, they don't even call it, that's why we call it climate change now. And I don't know if we have an established answer to support their argument. But nonetheless, it's the narrative they're using, and everyone's happy to jump aboard. You know, Leo DiCaprio jumping in, he's their spokesperson, even though his carbon footprint is huge. He's a complete hypocrite. And then we know, as you wrote about, the President of the United States, the green president, the guy whose administration, every chance they get, talks about how climate change is the biggest threat facing the world, and yet his carbon footprint is enormous.
Well, and the hypocrisy there, of course, is the attack on Stephen Harper for trying to get, I wrote about this on Sunday, trying to get one pipeline built. Yeah. And Obama's making like Hamlet. Under Obama, his critics would say, despite him, not because of him. Doesn't matter. Under Obama, the United States has become the world's largest producer of oil and natural gas. Liquid, more than Saudi Arabia, surpassed Saudi Arabia this year on oil and liquefied natural gas, surpassed Russia as the biggest producer of natural gas 4 years ago. Obama boasts about this, and yet the narrative that's maintained by opposition politicians in Canada, Elizabeth May, Trudeau, Mulcair, all the environmental groups, is that what's the big disaster in North America? It's the oil sands. The oil sands are 1/1000th of the problem. The problem is U.S. burning coal for electricity, and that's going down, but there's only two things are happening there. Yes, U.S. coal electricity use is going down, lowering their emissions. Why? Because of fracking. They've got huge new reserves of natural gas they've gotten to, which burns at half the rate of pollution and greenhouse gases as coal. That's the one thing. The other thing is what's the United States doing? As they use less coal domestically, they're exporting more coal abroad. And yet, see, and this is the unrealism of this whole debate.
Sure, but the Liberals and the Liberals yet make all their policy in North America on this because it's such a sexy narrative, and it's proving to be a failure right through and through. You need only look at the Ontario Green Energy Act to know that it is an absolute colossal fraud.
Justin Trudeau says his position, he supports Keystone. That's the one that goes down to the Gulf Coast, as opposed to the one going east and the one going west. And he said that Obama would have approved Keystone if Canada had a price on carbon. That statement is ignorant on every level. Number one, why would we have a price on carbon when the United States doesn't have a price on carbon? The United States doesn't have a price on carbon. The United States never joined Kyoto. You know how big thing? We legally exercised our right to leave Kyoto, which ended 2 years ago, a year before. Totally legal, right in the treaty, right? United States never joined. Never joined going back to Al Gore and Bill Clinton. Never joined. So the whole thing to me is that, look, it's a good idea to burn fuels as cleanly as we can. Replace oil and coal with natural gas where you can. Use nuclear power. That's much cleaner. There's another great idea. Develop technologies to get you more cleaner fuels, like fracking, carbon capture and storage. Great idea. But none of that has to do with this. No. This is about wealth redistribution, and this is about environmental activists who don't like the West, who don't like development, who don't like capitalism. But the thing they're running up against is, where are the countries that can do something about this?
Yeah, like China.
No. The countries that can do something are Western countries. China is a disaster area.
A disaster, but
and it's not
if anyone
China's
needs
fault.
to clean up its act, it'd be China. But they never make them. But the bottom line is, as long as people are making billions, it's not going to change.